You are about to listen to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast, hosted by Craig Forrestall. Find Craig on Twitter at that_sports_guy. The That Sports Guys podcast is proudly featured by NFL Draft Diamonds, your draft coverage king. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some football talk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Player Profile Interviews. I am Craig Forrestall. You know me from Twitter as @that_sports_guy. And today I have with me Eastern Illinois linebacker Dytarious Johnson. How are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Perfect. Hey, no problem. Thank you for making the time in between sessions.
Dytarious, you're originally from Prattville, Alabama. What's it like growing up in Prattville?
It's pretty good. It's it's pretty good. It's Alabama basically. It's pretty urban, nice town to grow up in. A lot of people supporting you and stuff like that. So it's kind of big on football too. So it kind of just falls in line.
When I was doing my research, I noticed that you had a pretty extensive baseball background. Was baseball your first love?
Yes. I started playing baseball when I was 3. And I played up until my junior year of high school. I started playing football when I was around 10 years old. My dad talked me into playing it, so I've been with it ever since. So I've just been playing both.
The Jim Harbaugh satellite camps were a series of Michigan football camps that were held outside of the state. Michigan held a camp in Alabama, and that's actually where you were offered by Michigan. What was that whole experience like?
It was kind of fun actually. We just had a camp. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of drills. We had races. I guess they just wanted to see me move in person since they never seen me. Since it was kind of on the spot type of thing. So it was a lot of people there. It was just players from schools all around Alabama. So it was a pretty fun deal. And it was at my high school too. So it was right there.
You spent time at Alabama Prep before settling at Eastern Illinois. The original plan was to go to Michigan, but that took a turn towards the end. So when Eastern Illinois came into the picture, who else was recruiting you at that time as you were getting ready to leave Alabama Prep?
Well, since it was, I made the decision at such short notice. I know. I think I only had like one other school talking to me at that time. My mom, she wanted me to get in school. I really didn't want to wait a whole nother semester for a school to recruit me since their recruiting period was already over. So besides Eastern, I think the other school was Bethune-Cookman. They had offered me as well. But I had been talking to I don't remember. I think it was Louisiana Lafayette. They had talked to me, but they told me I had to wait a whole nother semester since they didn't have any more scholarships. So that was pretty much that whole deal. And as soon as I started talking to the Eastern coaches, they flew me out with them like the next week. So I could tell they wanted me pretty bad.
I looked it up on my own just because I was curious, and I saw that Prattville, Alabama, the high school, Prattville High School, to the campus of Eastern Illinois is an 8-hour and 40-minute drive. Did you have to go through any sort of adjustment period once you got up to campus at Eastern Illinois, Dytarious?
Yes. Just been away from my family for that long. I've never been away from my family that long or even just that far for a long time. But that was mainly my biggest adjustment. And then I had a son like shortly after I got here. So my first semester here, I had a son at home. So that just kind of took a turn for me as well. But, I mean, it was just a just life, and it worked out pretty good for me.
One thing that I noticed when I was watching you on film is you have very good speed. It surprised me a little bit because you are a bigger guy. For someone who hasn't seen you play, how would you explain the combination of speed and size?
I mean, I can't really explain it. I've always been, like, very fast. Usually one of the fastest people on the team ever since I was little. But, I mean, I just grew I mean, my junior year of high school, I was like 210 pounds, and my senior year, I jumped up to like 240. So it was an adjustment for me at first, but once I got used to it, I just started getting back normal. But I mean, I can't really explain it. They'll just have to see it for themselves, honestly. Because people like freshmen on my team, they don't believe I'm really fast as they think I am. So when I tell them I'm really faster than them, they kind of like brush it off or something like that.
And with that, you're a big hitter too. Is there a specific hit or play that just jumps out at you and that you remember a little bit easier than others?
Um, I'd say Northern Illinois my freshman year. I think I was just running everywhere. That was a very like fast paced game, and I was like a freshman, so everything was already moving kind of fast for me. I was still trying to get adjusted to college football. So just me, I was just going around. I made like 3 consecutive like big hits in the same series. So I was just going, and that was probably like my most fun, most like some of my best tackles, just by far.
Now you're entering the season with 36 and a half career tackles for loss, which currently sits as number 7 all time in EIU history. Describe your play style. How would you talk to someone about the way that you play?
Um, I mean, I'm kind of I have different play styles. Depends on the team we're playing. It depends on what they're running. I mean, usually, when I usually get TFL, when it's they like my team really need me most to make plays. So that's when I really get aggressive. But I'm usually one of the smarter people on the field. So I like to learn like everything on defense. So I usually like to. I'm not even selfish either. So I'm like I like to plays for me and my teammates. But sometimes I get too. Sometimes I don't like to get too aggressive because sometimes I get too aggressive and it could mess up the defense. But I think I'm pretty even as far as that aspect.
How would you say that you've grown as a leader since you've arrived to Eastern Illinois?
Well, when I first got to college, I wasn't expecting anybody to like follow my lead or try to win people over. I was just going out there playing playing my game as I usually do, and they just kind of followed. So like coaches just told me like year after year, like you one of the best people on the team. Like we need you to step up because these younger guys even older guys are looking up to you. So it's kind of like stick to me. So anything I do, if I do something that's not ethical to the team, I try for the most part not to do that, or anything that I know my coaches want to approve of. I try to do not to do that because my teammates actually they pay attention closer than most leaders think they do. They want to be just like whoever else is ahead of them, and they want to be better than them.
And then, Dytarious, when you were away from campus due to COVID-19, did you need to get creative with your workouts, or did you have the weights and all of that?
I had to get pretty creative because when I went home, I'm not gonna see my son. So with all this COVID stuff going on, I didn't want to risk getting that just for working out and not being able to see my son because I was keeping him most of the time I was home, just because I mean his mom she needs a break in. Me out, I rarely see him as it is, so I was just trying to keep him as much as I can. So I usually just work out in my garage, and I just jump. I just do like jump rope. I try to make up a lot of home workouts, and like our coaches, they used to send us work, make weights and stuff too, like home weight, like things you can find in your home to lift weights with too. So that kind of helped me out a lot.
And now being back and preparing for the season as the Ohio Valley Conference prepares to play this upcoming fall, how does it feel to be back in sort of that normal football-based routine?
As of right now, I mean, it's kind of normal right now since, like, we're usually the only ones on campus around this time. But I think our biggest adjustment is probably going to be, like, player safety and stuff, everything going on. And then we have to go to class with people that may, contract the virus. So that's really, like, our biggest priority right now as a team is safety. More so than anything. I mean, we would still obviously love to have a season. we try to stay as safe as possible. Like, we've been taking every precaution possible. We stay 6 feet from each other at practice. We wear masks at practice. So that's kind of like the biggest adjustment for everybody, and old and new guys. So I say that's the biggest adjustment.
Dytarious, you were an all-conference performer last season. As we head into this season, what are the goals?
Oh, well, like you stated earlier, I'm top 10 EIU for TFL. So I'm trying to get number 1 in that category. Just trying to get better. I've recently moved to outside linebacker instead of inside last year. So just bettering me pass rushing and stuff like that to increase my just overall game. And I think that'll help me just long term, even trying for the next level. So I can play multiple positions, not just inside, but I can just play outside too. So I think that'll be one of my biggest goals this year is just improving my game in general. It's not even more so stats because, I mean, those come when you do the right things. But, yeah, that's my biggest thing.
And Dytarious, you've been wonderful with all of the football-based on-field questions. Now, I want to give the people a chance to get to know you off the field. What's the motto that you live by?
Hold on, I got it. It's on my phone right here. I have a motto. It's called I go by every day is a second chance. So like if you have a bad day one day or something like that, don't just dwell on it. Try to improve on it the next day. Don't just basically have a short term memory about things. That's because life goes on. A lot of bad stuff happens, but as my coach said, it's about how you react to it. That's reaction is everything. So if you react poorly to it, that's just how everything's going to pan out for you. That's one I've been going by a lot recently, more so this year, actually.
If you could meet anyone, who would it be?
Probably Michael Vick. When I was younger, when I first started playing football, I wanted to be a quarterback because I was left-handed. I played baseball. I could throw the ball pretty far, and I could run. So I kind of thought I was going to be Michael Vick, but once I got hit for the first time, I was like, nah, I'd rather hit people. I don't like getting hit. So that changed. But Michael Vick for sure. I know as on and off the field, he's faced a lot of stuff in his life, and I know that I could just feed off of anything or learn something from him because he's learned. I can tell he's learned from his mistakes and try to do better by himself, especially in these more recent years.
Dytarious, if you had a time machine and you could go back to any time period or to a younger version of you, where would it be?
I would go back to maybe 9th grade summer. Actually in 9th grade I had stopped playing football for my high school, and I just started focusing solely on baseball because I was just in love with baseball. So I had just stopped playing football altogether, and actually I'm originally from Selma, Alabama, and my sister, so we had transferred back to my hometown my sophomore year. So I actually played for Selma my sophomore year of high school before I transferred back to Prattville. And I think that was kind of a mistake I made because my mom, she wouldn't let me and my sister split up from school, so I just went along with my sister. And I think I changed that back around because I think probably they're very into the sport. So football for me would have probably been way better than I made it out to be. And I could have probably made better decisions as far as recruiting and stuff like that.
What fictional or TV character do you feel like you could be friends with in real life?
Bugs Bunny, I'd say. I know I'm pretty big and stuff, but people are intimidated by me. But I'm really one of the nicest people ever. Most of the time I'm smiling. My coaches tell me that everybody just I'm like a magnet. Everybody just comes to me because I have such a good personality, and I just love talking. I like joking around, laughing, and stuff like that. So probably Bugs Bunny.
What song will you never forget the lyrics to?
Actually, I don't know.
That's the song. That's the song that's gonna stump you. The question, huh?
Yeah, that's one question I cannot answer. I don't know. I listen to I don't even have a music preference. I'll listen to pretty much anything. So it's like whatever I feel comfortable listening to at that moment in time, that's what I'll listen to. Because like my team's pretty diverse. I mean, everybody listens to everything, so it's just kind of you just going with the flow. So I really don't have an answer to that question, honestly.
Well, Dytarious, that's going to do it for the questions that we got set up for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned because when we come back after this, we have an interview with Blake Mitchell. But until next time, stay safe and be easy. For Dytarious Johnson, I'm Craig Forrestall.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Player Profile Interviews. I am Craig Forrestall. You may know me from Twitter as @that_sports_guy. And today I have with me Blake Mitchell, offensive lineman, Austin Peay. Blake, what's going on?
How we doing?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for taking the time to hop on with us. I know you got camp and everything, so I'll try to keep to a tight schedule for you.
Sir, sounds good.
Perfect. So I just want to ask you, Brentwood, Tennessee, that's where you're from. What's it like growing up in Brentwood?
Brentwood's I think it's an awesome place to grow up. It's just outside of Nashville. So you kind of get the big city on one end, and then I was able to hunt and fish growing up, and was out in the country a lot, and kind of got the best of both worlds.
Definitely. And I wanted to ask you about, as your time ended in Brentwood and you're getting ready to go off to college, you ended up going to Mississippi State initially, and you walked on there. How did that happen, and had they been recruiting you fairly heavily to that point?
I went to the Big Dog Camp and all that different stuff down at Mississippi State, and Coach John Hevesy down there, he liked the way I played and liked the way I knew the game, talking with me even off the field, and so he did recruit me and talk to me a lot, and I actually took an official visit down there before I decided to go there, and had the full experience, really being recruited by them and talking with them through the whole process.
And so now once you got on campus and you arrived at Mississippi State, what was life like for you as a walk-on? Because people have this image of walk-on life being like in the movie Rudy, but what is it really like?
Well, from my experiences, it's different for different guys. Some people embrace it and take it as, more of a challenge than the guys that are on scholarship that they kind of feel like they're going to get their time to play. The walk-ons, as a group, we had the guys that came in and were satisfied being practice players. And we had the guys that came in and went to work every day and wanted to prove themselves and prove that they were, not only fit to play at that level, but also had the work ethic and the drive to play no matter the conditions they were in. For my own personal situation, I mean, I would never felt that I was treated as a walk-on. I was, included in all team stuff. I was part of the O-line. It never felt like two different groups of guys in there. It always felt like, one family. And I think that speaks a lot to, Dan Mullen and the way he ran his program.
And then after a couple seasons with Mississippi State, you entered the transfer portal, ended up at Austin Peay, earned first-team All-Ohio Valley Conference honors last season. Now, when you entered the portal, were you set on Austin Peay? Did you know that's where you were going to end up, or did you go through a couple of other options before deciding?
Whenever I decided to transfer, I really had no idea where I was going to wind up. I felt that I was good enough to play, and I felt like maybe going to the FCS division I could really shine. And so whenever I decided to enter the transfer portal, I didn't have many plans. I talked to Montana. They were going through a coaching change, and I talked to them just some. And I get a call one day while I was actually duck hunting from a friend of mine that went to Austin Peay. And she told me that Coach Hudspeth, the tight ends coach for Mississippi State, had taken the head job here. So I called him that day and congratulated him on getting the job and told him I was still kind of looking for a school, and the rest of it's history. I was headed this way. I think I was signing the paperwork 2 days later. So I didn't do much of the recruiting process once I entered the portal.
And I first noticed you when I was actually watching film on one of your teammates. I was actually watching D'Angelo Wilson, and I kept having my eyes pop back to you. What is the main difference in your estimation between FBS and FCS level ball?
Really, I think the main change between the two divisions is the difference in your ones and twos. Whenever you look at the FBS division, whether your ones or twos are in, you don't notice much of a change as far as pace and everything like that. So really, it's just a matter of depth, I think, on your team, especially on the O lines.
And then when you first arrived to campus after you transferred, what was the biggest adjustment for you?
I'd say the biggest adjustment was actually being 3.5 hours closer to home, which was an interesting adjustment. I'm now at a smaller school, obviously. The social aspect of it was a lot different, but being really close to home, I'm an hour from my farm and an hour from seeing my family, and so I got to be a lot closer. And I'd say that was the biggest adjustment, which was actually a huge positive for me.
And I need to ask you how you and the guys have been preparing for the upcoming season, because you were the Ohio Valley Conference champs last year. How do you plan on defending that crown?
Well, we pride ourselves on being the most physical team in the OVC. We pride ourselves on coming out and playing with relentless effort. And from off-season Zoom workouts to guys just sending in videos of what they were doing on their own during quarantine, to the first day we showed up for workouts, to the first day of camp, I think we've lived up to those expectations that we hold for our team. And we don't talk about the wins and losses as much as we talk about just going out there and a team's going to remember whenever they played us, because we're going to give relentless effort and be the most physical team they play all year.
And Blake, I want to ask you, some people might label you as a smaller offensive lineman. You're listed at about 6'1" and 300 pounds. When you hear that smaller lineman label, what thoughts come to mind?
Honestly, I embrace it. I hear that and I see it as adversity that I have to prove myself that much more. And from being a walk-on at Mississippi State, I remember I'm going against the top guys in the country. Jeffrey Simmons, Braxton Hoyt, guys like that are spending their days in the league now, and I could hold my own against them any day of the week. And so I hear that and I understand it, because if you look at the numbers, but I think it's a great challenge for me, and I embrace it.
And now, personally, how do you plan to build off of last season? And you were also named to the preseason all-conference team this year, so the expectations are high for you. How do you plan to go about the season personally?
I think that whenever you take on a season, you never look at the end. You never look at where I'll be ranked or anything like that. I'm going to take it one play at a time, one game at a time, and I'm going to give my best every Saturday or whatever day of the week we end up playing on this year. And I can promise that my all will be given, and all of that will work itself out.
And now, is there any desire for you to be named to an All-American team or anything like that, or individual accomplishments completely out the window?
At the end of the day, I mean, I think they're a great boost, but overall, I'm not as much concerned with, getting the recognition for myself. I'm out there playing with 11 guys every time the ball is snapped, and I'm doing my best for the guy to my left and to my right, and I hope they're doing the same.
And Blake, how does it feel to be back on campus, back in camp, going through the normal routine, stuff that you're more accustomed to, having been away from the facilities on campus for a decent amount of time due to the pandemic?
It's incredible, really being back. I mean, we had, some long months of being away from ball and being away from our guys, and you can see just the camaraderie and everybody coming together at the end of practice, O-line and D-line getting together and loving every rep and not taking anything for granted. And, I mean, like I said, we're physical, and it shows right now.
Definitely. So, Blake, I want to thank you for that. And we spent a good amount of time focusing on you on the field and getting to know you as a player. But now I want to go a little bit off the field, and I got a couple of questions over here for you. So if you'll be a good sport, I want to know, does the training staff do anything special with the Gatorade? Do they mix flavors? Do you have a favorite flavor? Anything like that?
I'd say my favorite flavor is probably blue to have out there, and we're actually Powerade. But my favorite color is probably blue. But what they do the best is they mix it very well, and we've got probably, I'd like to say, the strongest Powerade in the OVC.
All right, now, Blake, you said that you're not too far from home now that you transferred closer at Austin Peay. Now, when you jet on back home, what's that one thing you're telling the family that they got to make? What's your favorite comfort food?
I'd say probably a fish fry. Whenever I go home, I love whenever we get some catfish or some crappie out of the freezer and have a fish fry and have the whole family sitting around eating together.
What's the most hostile stadium or the most hostile game that you've ever played in?
I would probably say Montana State last year, third round of the playoffs, was one of the rowdiest and loudest crowds that I've been around, FBS or FCS. They were in tune with the game and loud from start to finish.
Now, you're in a celebrity tag team match, and you can pick whoever you want as your partner. They just need to be a celebrity. Who's it going to be and why?
I'm probably taking The Rock. He's been in that situation before, and I think he'd be the right guy to help me out.
Experience finds a way. I like it. Now, I'm going to ask you, if you had 3 wishes, any 3 wishes that you could have come true because you stumbled upon the magic genie, what would those wishes be?
Well, number one is obviously furthering my football career. But number 2 would probably be a Browning A5 shotgun. Number 3 would probably be a new duck place to hunt, somewhere right on the flyway.
So definitely just make it to the league, get yourself a new gun and a little bit of land to go duck hunting, and you're good.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. I love it. Well, everybody, for Blake Mitchell, I'm Craig Forrestall. Stay tuned. Until next time, stay safe and be easy. Hey everybody, Craig Forrestall. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @that_sports_guy to catch all the latest updates and podcast episodes. Until next time, stay safe and be easy.